There's over 200 plus professional basketball leagues in the world today. But of those, these are some of the best emergent opportunities for players. Now, messaging overseas basketball teams sucks. And I would know, as a 7-year pro, I would be up until 1 a.m. messaging clubs, agents, coaches, and everyone just looking for one response. And that's why I began researching all of the different leagues in the world. And what I came to find was that specific leagues actually favor specific types of players. So today I want to show you some of the best kept secrets in overseas basketball. Okay, so the first one is the NBL 1 in Australia. And this is the second professional division in the country. With over 70 plus teams and 5 divisions, this has a ton of opportunities for players. When you look at these rosters, the vast majority of these rosters are going to have Americans, exclusively Americans, as their imports. Of these American players, a lot of them come from a lot of different playing backgrounds. Some of them are NEIA guys, some of them are NCAA D1 guys, D2 guys, high major, low major, and some all the way go up are former G League guys who are now playing in the NBL 1. So not only do they love Americans, but they love Americans from a broad range of playing experiences. Now, beyond the Americans, another opportunity that may open up is for Asian players. If you have one of these passports, then you classify actually as a local under the new rules in the NBL 1. So this is a huge opportunity for Asian Americans, Asian Canadians, Asian Europeans, Asian whatever. So long as you have that passport and you are Filipino American, Japanese American, then you have a distinct advantage at making a roster in the NBL 1. And probably the best part is that all the coaches are very attainable, very reachable. They have a website, the NBL 1, where you can basically see all the rosters, all the coaches. I'll link that up here because I already did a video on that in case you guys are interested in reaching out. Now, another league that doesn't have nearly as much opportunity, but still is a gold mine for a specific type of player, is in Nicaragua and the LSB. Now, this is going to come to a surprise to many considering it's such a small country and it's in Central America. There's actually serious money being made here. Over the years, the Nicaraguan Federation and the government have poured and invested a ton of money into basketball. And now it's really shown in the salaries and the overall play of the country itself. So for instance, nowadays, a player in Nicaragua can make about $2,000 to about all the way up to $10,000 if you're on one of the better and bigger teams in Nicaragua, which was unheard of before in Nicaragua and frankly in all of Central America. You would not be making that type of money. But that's how invested, that's how committed now the federation and the clubs and the owners and most importantly the government is to Nicaragua. And just to kind of put this into perspective, Nicaragua actually hosted the AmeriCup in 2025, which is the biggest tournament in all of the Americas, beyond obviously an international event such as the Olympics. Nicaragua, they actually have 2 seasons. So they have like the opening season, which is called Apertura, and they have the closing season, which is called Clausura. So there are 2 opportunities for you to land in Nicaragua and sign with a team. And not only that, get into this great market, which is emerging and will and is exploding. Speaking of Latin America, Mexico is a market that you really have to pay attention to because this is a market that has the NBA involved. Whenever the NBA is involved, lots of money is potentially there. So in case you didn't know, Mexico actually has a G League team called Los Capitanes. So they have been operating in Mexico for a few years now. And of course, there's always the talks of expansion into this country, which signals to me that there's probably going to be a lot of money potentially invested, especially considering that Los Capitanes are actually setting records for attendance, selling out their home games, and they're getting good players to come and play there. So when it comes to Mexico, the one league that I would really pay attention to is CIBACOPA. CIBACOPA is the 2nd division in Mexico. And usually the type of imports or foreigners that they'll want are Americans or Latin Americans, people who can actually speak Spanish and who have actually been playing in Latin America so they can quickly adjust to the physicality, the style of play, and what they can expect. So let's say that you couldn't get into the CIBACOPA. There is still a way to get into the Mexican market, and that would be through CIBAPAC or the LPB. Now, these are the lower divisions in Mexico, but I've seen this many times where a player has gone from CIBAPAC to the CIBACOPA and then potentially making the leap to the 1st division, LNBP. CIBACOPA would definitely be sustainable, especially because this league is like a revolving door. They have players coming in and out all the time. So there is a lot of opportunity in Mexico. Now, stepping outside of Latin America, one market that you have to pay attention to in Africa is Rwanda. First reason just being the money. Imports in this league now regularly make between between $1,500 to about $7,000, with the top imports making about $10,000 per month. So there's a lot of money to potentially make in this market. But specifically for Africans, let's say Rwandan Americans or Rwandan Canadians, if you have that dual passport, if you are able to classify as a Rwandan, that is really the sweet spot, because this league naturalizes a ton of players who are actually American, grown up in the States, but they have the Rwandan passport. So they come as a big asset to the league, especially in these bigger profile teams such as the Patriots, APR. All of these teams are getting Rwandan Americans. They grew up in the NCAA programs, they grew up in the American basketball system, and now they're able to help their clubs in Rwanda. So huge thing about Rwanda is that the winner of the Rwandan League actually gets an automatic berth to the BAL, so the Basketball African League, which is the top competition in all of the continent. So if you do well in Rwanda, then you go to the highest stage in the continent right away. And I'm gonna throw one Hail Mary into this list, and that is India. So in India, this is one of the most messy, disjointed, fragmented markets in overseas basketball right now. They have multiple different leagues. None of them are actually tiered together, one after the other. So like Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, they're all just competing against each other. So there's no format, there's no structure. And obviously the biggest thing in India is the population. The population alone, if they can even grab a bit of that market share, that would be a massive market for anyone who could get into it early before it explodes. It kind of reminds me of like Japan. Before Japan exploded into what it is now, a multi-million dollar industry for basketball, FIBA actually got involved and forced them to merge their leagues together. So that's what I think might happen with India. And if they do, that'll be a huge thing, because I think there's a lot of potential money here that could be made. With all that being said, in order for India to reach that potential, it really has to open up the market. So right now, what happens in India is if you are born outside of India, even if you have Indian heritage, you still cannot play in the league as a local, as a national. So for instance, let's say an Indian American, an Indian Canadian, an Indian Brit, they don't count as a local, as a national in India. So that obviously immediately cuts off almost the whole chain of talented players across the world. So in India, they don't actually give out that dual citizenship, I don't believe. But what they do is they classify anyone who's born outside of India as an IOC, so an Indian overseas citizen. And that gives you certain privileges to visit and travel to India, but in the context of playing overseas basketball, it doesn't do much. You actually can't play in it. So it's kind of a big disappointment, but if the Indian League can ever get its act together, then that's going to be a huge market for you. Anyway, those are just some leagues that if you can get in early, it could make a huge difference in how much money you make, how successful you are, how visible you are in overseas basketball. Either way, thanks so much for listening, guys. I appreciate it. Take care. Until next time. Peace.